Welcome back to another round of basis picks. This one is going to be very quick because I don't have detailed information on much of the fighters that are taking place across both the Queensberry and the Matchroom cards this weekend, but I will give you my general thoughts on the main fights from each card. Gonna start off with the Queensberry card. Quick note to anyone who sees this within sort of the next couple hours, I won't actually be there. Unfortunately, I didn't get my accreditation. They ran short, so yeah, I won't be at that one. So I'm actually making my way up to Birmingham as you're watching this. So yeah, you will see me at the Matchroom show, and yeah, blah blah blah. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the Queensberry show for tonight. Okay, so first fight on the card to talk about is the Queen of Queensberry herself, the Omen, Raven Chapman, against Lily Dos Santos Furtado, who's 9-0, I believe, with 1 KO, as opposed to Raven 6-0 with 2 KOs. I haven't seen anything of Lily Furtado, so I can't give you any real insight on her. I do know that most of her victories have come against debutantes, so people with no experience whatsoever. One thing I know, obviously, having watched Raven from her first fight up until now, I think that her work rate, punch placement and level changing will all pose significant issues to Lily, but I can't say with certainty how durable she is or how durable she isn't. Again, I haven't seen anything of her, but her being Brazilian, I do know that they do have quite a good standout amateur background, especially when it comes to sort of mixed martial arts type combat, but within boxing they're always pretty tidy, pretty straight. So with that being said, I'm predicting that Raven will win this fight via decision or possible late round stoppage. If she does get the stoppage, I'll be very happy, but yeah, I'm going to go conservatively on decision on this one. Second fight to speak about is Nathaniel Collins against Raza Hamza. Now again, I've seen a bit of Nathaniel Collins. I've followed his journey, 12-0 at present, whereas Hamza I haven't seen much of. Yet again, another one that I'm not too familiar with. I do expect this to be, you know, further building on Nathaniel Collins' journey, you know, towards the you know, sort of that British title, that European title, keep building sort of on those steps. I believe that's a featherweight contest as well. So I'm gonna go with Nathaniel Collins by way of KO, and I have nothing to base that on other than just previous work rate and how he's been dealing with other opponents. So I'm gonna go with KO in round number 5. That's gonna be the prediction there. Now moving on to the main event, you've got Dennis McCann versus Ionut Baluta. Now this one, I believe, is actually a very, very interesting fight. Now it's funny because Baluta is almost dubbed as like the prospect killer these days. There's been many sort of guys who are in and around that European level looking to progress, and ultimately he upsets the cart. He did it with Brad Foster, he did it with Andrew Kane, even coming off the ground twice to do so. And yeah, he's a workhorse. He just outworks opponents. He lost to Liam Davis, that's it. So he lost to Liam Davis. I think that was a split decision actually. I'm not 100% sure. But he's always game. He has had a bit of wear and tear recently. Like I said, he was dropped twice in his last fight, but he came through and won the fight ultimately on a split decision. Could the punch resistance start to be waning now? I mean, Dennis McCann saying he wants to be the first guy to KO him, and if that is the case, then that would be a pretty bold statement. With regards to this, I'm going to go with McCann to win the fight, just because I think he's a cleaner boxer overall. Has a bit of a better punch selection. He won't be as active as Baluta, but I feel like he will land the more telling shots. And I'm going to go bold. I'm actually going to predict that he does managed to stop Baluta towards the end of the fight. I'm thinking round 9. It's a very bold prediction. I've got nothing to base it on because Baluta does have a good chin, good defense, and a good offense which transitions into defense. So I've got nothing to base that on apart from just maybe a vibe that it could happen. I do know that Dennis does want to be the first guy to stop him, so I feel like he will put a little bit of extra mustard on some of those shots. So like I said, nothing but vibes. I'm going to go for Dennis McCann via late TKO round 9 or 10. Okay, moving on to the Matchroom card taking place tomorrow up in Birmingham, the Utilita Arena. First one on the card that I have any knowledge of is Solomon Dacus against Chris Thompson. I think he's fighting 12 and I think he's like 12-4-1. Solomon Dacus is like 6-0, I think, with 1 KO. I don't know Chris Thompson, so again, I'm not going to pretend like I can make a big analysis on how this fight's going to go. Dacus does have pretty good fundamentals, however, and he seems to be looking to sit down on shots a little bit more rather than just the typical conventional boxing and moving from his amateur days. So I am tentatively going to go for a KO victory. I think it's an 8-rounder, so I think he will get a stoppage around about round 6 or 7. Again, nothing really to base that on based on the opponent. I haven't seen much, but Dacus, it looks like I said, he's sitting down and punches a bit more with Max McCracken, so I'm gonna just wing it on that one. Yeah, late stoppage on that. The next one I think is, was it Jordan Flynn versus Kane Baker 2. Now the last fight they had, I believe that a lot of people felt Kane Baker won that fight, but Jordan Flynn got the nod, so they're running it back. Now this fight is a lot more interesting stylistically because Jordan Flynn felt he had the measure of Kane Baker, but I think Baker had a slightly longer reach and was a little bit quicker to the draw than what Jordan Flynn had, so he wasn't able to really get his timing down for a lot of those rounds. And I think Jordan Flynn gassed. From what I can remember, he gassed quite badly towards the back end of that fight, and Kane Baker sort of had the gas tank to sort of push on and, you know, really make it an uncomfortable night. So Flynn was winning the earlier rounds, and then Baker sort of came back into it and made it a bit of a troublesome one, and he was very aggrieved not to get that victory. So they're running it back now. Now they always say that a person who wins a rematch is the one that can make the most adjustments. That in that case, I do actually think Jordan Flynn is capable of making those adjustments. Not only that, he is the younger and the fresher guy with not as much miles on the clock. He's already been in there with Baker now. He knows what to expect. He knows the levels he's going to have to dig down to, and just because of that, I feel like he'll be suitably prepared from the training within sparring to clean up what happened in the last bout. So for that reason, I do think that Jordan Flynn wins this one, and I think he is going to nullify a lot of Kane Baker's what he had success in the first fight. Not to, you know, a masterclass type level, but I do think he's going to win this fight via unanimous decision with no sort of dispute or doubt as to the outcome. So that's what I'm going to predict for that. Next you had Cyrus Patterson against Connor Walker, I think his name was. Cyrus Patterson, to me, has, you know, he's a pretty good talent. I'm not going to say he's amazing. I don't know where I expect him to end up overall, but I do think he is above the level of Connor Walker from what I've seen previously. He's 6-0, I think, with 4 KOs at this point, and I think Connor Walker has had a couple, I think 2 or 3 defeats at this point as well. So I'm going to go for Cyrus Patterson. I'm going to go for KO round 5 or 6. And last but not least, got Galal Yafai versus Tommy Frank in the main event. Now Tommy Frank lost his last fight, I think, was it? Did he lose via stoppage to Jay Harris? But somehow he's the one getting the shot instead of Jay Harris. But I do think Jay Harris was, I think from what I heard, I can remember there was some sort of injury, or he wasn't available for the fight, and the aim is to have him fight the winner of this fight moving forward. So ultimately you've got Galal Yafai 4-0, 3 KOs. He had a bit of trouble in his second to last fight, but the last one he pretty much cleaned his work up real nice. Looks like he's kind of got back to basics and not so much just being in love with the power. He's got to keep his hands up, he's got to keep his head moving, because he has been trading on power a lot more than anything else, and as a result of that he was, you know, sort of falling into counter shots or getting his head pinged by just thinking he can mow through people. He's got to sort of, he can't totally, you know, forego his amateur background. He's got to get back to some sort of movement and fluidity. But I don't think that Tommy Frank's going to be the person to bother and worry him. I definitely think after this fight he'll be looking for that British title that Jay Harris does hold, and I do think that he will carry on his well, I can't even really call it a knockout streak, because there was a break with in the third fight, but I do think he will get a stoppage over Tommy Frank, and I am predicting that stoppage will take place around about round 7. So yeah, that's the prediction from me. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna leave it there because I gotta get going. But like, subscribe, share, leave your comments down below. Let me know who you think is gonna win these fights. I know it's not really a big week like that, but sometimes you need these sort of smaller ones to reset. But I'm going to enjoy the event and festivities either way. So thank you very much for watching, and that's Basis Picks. Locked.